Okay, I think we are live. Let me just turn. Okay. Hello, world. Or should I say aloha? In this episode, I'm going to talk about the animated Lilo and Stitch movies. What's your favorite animated Lilo and Stitch movie? Because I don't know about you, but I'm getting so tired of these live action remakes. It just doesn't have the same magic that they used to, but I'll get into that in a bit. Let's get to the rankings, shall we? Roll the intro. Live from Niagara Falls, it's Mr. FlIXTER Show on Saturday night. Thank you for clicking. Uh-oh, sorry. Hello, world. I'm Chris Maitini, aka Mr. FlIXTER. Mr. FlIXTER. So, before we get to the main event for the evening, I want to do a little brief follow-up to last week's episode with a segment I like to call the Weekend Box Office Update. And I want to do a tribute like I usually do. So let's start with the tribute, because I'm going to keep it all Lilo and Stitch this week. This week's tribute is all about David Ogden Stiers. Now, you might not recognize his face or his name, but he's a very talented voice actor, and he was in a lot of Disney movies especially. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. He was born on Halloween, believe it or not, October 31st, 1942, in Peoria, Illinois. And he passed away on March 3rd, 2018. He was 75. He passed away of bladder cancer. What a terrible way to go. But he filled a lot of people's lives with joy, and he had a very long life. So at least there's that. You know, he did live to 75, so that's good. May he rest in peace. Can we just have a moment of silence for David Ogden Stiers? Thank you. Now, I just want to take a second to look at his body of work. So let's share this screen. Okay, and then let's go here. Then if you go to what he's known for, a little further down. Here's some of the more recent stuff. But if we go back, see all, we can see just how extensive his body of work was. We're in the mid-2000s now. Oh, he was the narrator in some of the Winnie the Pooh videos. I didn't know that. Winnie in the Water was terrible, but that's not his fault. He was just doing his job. He was in Justice League. I didn't know he was in Hoodwink. That's cool. Yeah, I had no idea he was in so much Winnie the Pooh stuff. You learn something every day, eh? Static Shock was a good show. Teacher's Pet was funny. Of course, Lilo and Stitch. He played Jumba. Now we're getting into the early 2000s. Oh, what I want to focus on. Here we go. 2001, he was in Spirited Away. He was in Atlantis, The Lost Empire. Whoops, sorry. A little further down. He was in an episode of The Angry Beavers. That's cool. He played Ratcliffe in Pocahontas 1 and 2. Oh, I didn't know he was in Jungle Jungle. But what I wanted to point out was he was played Cogsworth in Beauty and the Beast. That might be what he's most known for. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, though. He was also the archdeacon in The Hunchback of Notre Dame back in '96. Governor Radcliffe, of course, is the villain from the Pocahontas movies. And you can see his career even extends all the way back to the early 90s. Well, that's cool. He was in an episode of Star Trek. He was in Wings, and he was in MASH, too. Oh, it looks like he was also in 3 episodes of Matlock. Look at that. Wow. And 2 episodes of Alf. Who knew? That's cool. Lots of Perry Mason. My aunts love Perry Mason. They're always talking about Perry Mason. I loved Alf. Alf's hilarious. And we're in the 80s now. There it is, MASH. He was in 131 episodes. From 1977 to 1983 is when that show ran. I don't know if he was on the entire show, but that's a lot of episodes. I'm just curious, what was his first job? I like looking at that too. THX 1138. Oh, okay. That was George Lucas's first movie. Wow. So rest in peace, David Ogden Stiers. You won't be forgotten. Let's go back to me. And remove. Okay, we're back. So last week, oh, sorry, the lamp's in the shot. Don't want that. Okay. So last week, I reviewed Final Destination Bloodlines. So let's just look at the weekend box office update. Dun, 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 dun. I have to make a graphic for that or something. Where is it? Wait, it'll help if I shared my screen first. Yeah. I know what's going on. Whoops. Button happy. Here we go. Let's go to the box office. Okay. So last week, Final Destination killed it. Pun intended. It made $51 million, and it got number 1 at the box office. So for a low-budget horror movie, that's awesome. I think that's the highest grossing in the franchise, but I'd have to look into that. Oh, okay. My girlfriend Sabrina just told me that David Ogden Stiers was also in the pilot of Charlie's Angels in 1977. Thank you, Sabrina. Okay, where was I? Okay, at number 2, we had Thunderbolts. That made another $16 million. I was actually able to see that this week, finally. Stuff kept happening, and I wasn't able to get out to the theater, but I'm glad I got to see it. I'll have an episode about that coming up eventually, too. I reviewed Captain America, and next I'll do that one. But that made $16 million. So far, it's made $155 million, 0.5. And then last week it was 3rd. Oh, it actually went up a spot this week. No, wait, sorry. That's how many weeks it's been in the box office. 3. Last week it was number 1. So it's been in the box for theaters for 3 weeks. It's doing pretty good. It's almost at $200 million. I'm not sure what the budget was for that one, but I'm pretty sure it was pretty high. Most MCU movies are. In 3rd place, we have Sinners. Last week, that was at number 2. Sinners made $15.2 million. They're all still in about the same amount of theaters, too, if you notice here. Final Destination's in 3,523. Thunderbolts is in 3,960. And Sinners is in 3,518 theaters. Sinners actually got 16 theaters this week. And Thunderbolts lost 370. So anyways, the total gross for Sinners is $240.5 million. And it's been out for 5 weeks now. So it's got some pretty strong legs. Minecraft was third last week, so it got dropped down a spot. That made $5.9 million. So there's a huge gap in between the third and the fourth spot last week. It even lost 111 theaters, but it's still going strong. Still got $116.7 million. It's been out for about 7 weeks. And keep in mind, this is just the domestic box office. Oh, okay. Thunderbolts cost $180 million. Okay, so it's already got its budget back. For it's got 155. Okay, my math is off. So it's almost got its budget back. That's doing pretty good for 3 weeks out. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Minecraft. Sorry, lost my spot there. Keep in mind, this is just domestic. If we go to the international, actually worldwide, Minecraft's in second place this year. It's made $515.1 million. So it's got $500 million so far. Captain America Brave New World has $214 million. So Thunderbolts, I think, is going to beat this one for sure. And I still think Minecraft's going to make $1 billion. I'm calling it. Very confident in my prediction there. Let's go back. Okay, at number 5 is The Accountant 2. This one's holding strong too. It was at number 4 last week, but whenever there's a new release, your stuff usually gets bumped at least one spot. It made $4.7 million. Still in a healthy amount of theaters. You got a lot of theaters there. It's made $58.8 million. Not bad, not bad. Hurry Up Tomorrow's a new one. I think that's the new movie with The Weeknd. That made $3.3 million. Yeah, it's about the first week. Friendship came in at number 7. Last week it was at 13, so that's a huge bump. I guess that was good word of mouth. It made $1.4 million. And it's only in 60 theaters? Really? Wow. And it gained 54? So you're telling me when it came out, it was in 6 theaters? This is the second week. That's weird. Whoa. Okay. But good for it. It's got $2 million. Not bad for a low-budget movie. Clown in the Cornfield dropped down 3 spots. It was 5 last week. This week's at number 8. It made $1.3 million. It's got $6.3 million so far. Last week it was at number 2. Sorry, this is the second week. I keep switching those around. Last week was at number 5. Until Dawn was number 8. Last week, sorry, I'm all mixed up. Until Dawn is number 9. Last week it was number 8. There we go, I got there. It got $811,159. Couldn't crack $1 million this week, but it's still in over 1,000 theaters. That's considered wide release. And it's made $19.6 million so far. That's not bad. And The Amateur is holding strong at number 10. Last week it was at number 9. It made $724,688. But it's made $40 million so far. And it's been out for 6 weeks. So that's holding pretty strong too. Now, real quick, I just want to go back to that international box office. Sorry, the worldwide box office. So far, these are the top 10 movies this year. So we'll see what other ones make $1 billion, if any. There we go, 10. We got Neja 2, that's a Chinese movie. Minecraft, Captain America, Thunderbolts. Uh-oh, too far. Sinners, Snow White, Final Destination actually cracked the top 10. Wow, look at that. We got Dogman, we got Bridget Jones, Mad About a Boy, and Lilo and Stitch. The remake actually managed to crack the top 10 first weekend. Wow. That certainly surprises me. This episode is not about the remake, though. As you can tell from my intro, I'm very much against these live-action remakes. I'm not going to watch the new Snow White movie. I'm not going to watch Mufasa. I'm not going to watch whatever else they come out with. But I heard that after Snow White, they kind of stopped production on the live-action remakes. So hopefully Disney learns the right lesson here. But Lilo and Stitch is making money too, so there's going to be some mixed messages. So we'll see how it goes. And then there's the How to Train Your Dragon remake. I'm not watching that either. It's very sad to me that DreamWorks is starting to follow into the footsteps of what Disney's doing. And I hope that they learn the right lesson too, but we'll see. I just miss that feel of hand-drawn animation, the warmth that comes from it, and even the look of the watercolors, the way that the old movies look. To me, CGI is just so sterile and so clinical. Like, yeah, it could be really detailed, but it just doesn't feel the same. It just feels too clinical. It feels cold. There's no emotion to it. It's not as heartfelt. The stories, the writing sometimes can be heartfelt. Sure, a lot of the Pixar movies are really good, but I can't help but wonder how much better they would be if they were that hand-drawn style. And it's really sad that Disney and other studios have pulled away from that. It's actually come out that DreamWorks has fired over 100 animators recently. So this was like a few months ago, but still, it's very troubling news for people who love animation. I kind of feel like this is the death of hand-drawn animation, the way that studios are going now with all the CGI and with all the live action stuff. I just don't get the fascination with seeing stuff animated in live action. The joy of animation is doing stuff larger than life that you can't do in live action. And if most of your live action movie is CGI anyways, then it's not really live action, is it? Like the Lion King live action remake is entirely CGI, so that's not even live action. It's frustrating, especially since I grew up with a lot of these movies, and I have very fond memories of seeing most of these 90s Disney's Renaissance movies in theaters. And now they're just, I don't want to say they're destroying my childhood because they're really not. I'll always have those other ones, but they're pissing me off. We need to band together and we need to teach Disney the right lesson. Like, I strongly urge that you boycott Snow White, you boycott Lilo and Stitch, boycott the How to Train Your Dragon remake, and then hopefully they'll learn the right lesson. But Lilo and Stitch has already cracked the top 10 this year. That's baffling to me. But there is a new generation being introduced to the franchise and the character. But that's what this episode's about. I want to talk about the franchise that started it all. Did you know there's 4 Lilo and Stitch movies? Granted, 3 of them were direct-to-DVD releases, and back then, most of them were just released straight to VHS, so they were on the Disney Channel. So they probably weren't as well as accessible as stuff is now. But right now, they're all available on Disney Plus, so you can watch them if you want. Well, finish the episode first, and then go watch them. Ooh, that's not my drink. Here, can you put this somewhere? I keep reaching for it. Okay, so this is my official ranking of the animated Lilo and Stitch movies. I got my lovely notes. Oh, wait, not there. That was a blank page. My lovely notes. Done by my beautiful assistant, Sabrina. Oh, I don't have the comments up. Where's my mouse? Here we go. Comments. Is there any comments yet? No comments yet. Okay, cool. Then we can move on to the main event, shall we? All right. So, oh, what's going on? Where's my mouse? Okay. So what I did, let's share the screen. And hopefully this works out okay. Here we go. I set this up on Letterboxd so I can do the list live like I did with Final Destination last week. Here we go. So these are just the movies in chronological order. technically, if you want to go in the timeline, it goes Lilo and Stitch, and then it goes part 2, then it goes Stitch the movie, and then it goes Leroy and Stitch. But this is the way that they released. So part 2 actually takes place before the show. But we'll get to that. So let's just, hold on. My mouse is being screwy. Okay. So I want to edit the list. Hold on. Let's see. How did I do that before? Oh, wait. I'm going to have to go back. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, that's how I did it. Okay. Edit. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Perfect. This is what I was looking for. Okay. So, like I said, here is the order in order of release. If I can get my mouse to work. Here we go. Oops, too far. All right, so at number 4, I'm going to go with Lilo and Stitch 2. Stitch has a glitch. Let's take a look at this poster. Maybe. Come on. Okay, let's go to IMDb. Since that's not cooperating. Wait. Back to top. Okay. Lilo and Stitch 2. No ads. Go away. I'm not sponsored. Okay. It's becoming like a running gag now whenever that pops up. I'm not sponsored. Go away. There it is. Lilo and Stitch 2. It's got a cute poster. You can tell what the movie's about just by looking at it. Obviously, you got your record player here. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for this little picture. They're doing the hula. So let's read the synopsis. Here we go. A malfunction threatens to destroy Stitch and his friendship with Lilo. Okay, so Lilo and Stitch 2 was directed by Michael Labash and Tony Leondis. Sorry if I butchered that. It was written by Tony Leondis and Michael Labash and Guzelaine. Sorry if I butchered that. It stars Chris Sanders as Stitch. This one has a different person playing Lilo. This one has Dakota Fanning. And then Tia Carrere plays Nani. For these ones, it was hard to find the budget and how much they made because this was released straight to DVD. Same with the other sequels. I couldn't really find that information. So I do apologize. It's just not really out there. So that's a little preview for it. It's just a quick little one. All right. So there's a few reasons why I have this one at the bottom. Because this one is clearly the odd man out when it comes to the other ones. First of all, this was made by a completely different studio than the other two. This was made by the Disney Toon Studio, as opposed to the actual Walt Disney Animation Studio that the other ones were made by. So there's a huge dip in quality when it comes to the animation. And then the plot is kind of all over the place. It's kind of like two movies put together. In my notes here, I put A Tale of Two Tales, because really it's telling two different stories, but it doesn't really know what it wants to be. Like, the main plot line is completely sidelined by this hula competition. The name of the movie is Stitch Has a Glitch, but it's barely part of the movie. That's part of the problem, because a lot of the stuff that happens isn't really that consequential. Like, there's not a whole lot that happens that would really cause any agency. There's not really any stakes. And a lot of times when Stitch glitches out, it's very convenient. He just happens to glitch out at the worst possible time, instead of just being like on the beach or just being at home and relaxing, something like that. You know what I mean? So it's very convenient. And then this is a much smaller story, too. It's set entirely on Earth. There's no intergalactic adventure in this one like there is with the other ones. Even the first one, it started out in space, and then the rest of it is on Earth. And I get it. That's to keep the story more personal. But the problem is the story that they came up with is really dull. It's not very interesting. And it just kind of meanders all over the place. This movie doesn't even have any of the experiments in it because it just wanted to focus on the relationship with Lilo and Stitch, which makes sense. It's just not as emotionally impactful. I don't want to get into spoilers or anything. This is all going to be spoiler free, but something happens toward the end and I didn't buy it whatsoever. I didn't really think that a certain character died. So it just wasn't as emotionally resonant. I don't know why they went with faking out killing a character. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say there's a lot of characters. But no, I didn't buy it for a second. It's not sad. It's not as funny as the other one. The inclusion of Elvis isn't as good as the other movies are. And the plot is just so forced. I mean, the whole time, Jumba sees what's going on with Stitch, and he keeps glitching out, but he doesn't tell anybody what's going on. So when Lilo gets mad at Stitch, it's kind of like, why are you not stepping in and telling her and explaining to her, because he can't control himself? Like, the whole thing could have been resolved in one or two conversations. She wouldn't be so upset because she would understand what's happening to him. He's not doing it to be mean or anything. And when it comes to him glitching out, he does it a few times during her hula recital, not recital, rehearsal, sorry. And then, but that's about as far as that goes. Like, if he would have caused a natural disaster, like a tsunami or like a volcanic eruption, because he was glitching out so badly, that would have been a different story, and that would have been a more interesting movie, in my opinion. It could have been like a disaster movie, kind of. But not a whole lot happens. And the animation, it's not as bad as some of the other Disney sequels, like Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid and Aladdin and stuff like that. But, you know, you could tell that the budget just wasn't there. Ultimately, this movie just doesn't know what it wants to be. But I do love the inclusion of Elvis. Like, the songs are good. It's just the way they included them aren't as clever as some of the other movies did. And this movie doesn't really introduce anything new. Some of the movies introduce new things, and I'll get into that when I get to them. But yeah, those are just some of the reasons why this is number 4. I mean, it's not even the same Lilo. So right off the bat, like, this movie is just so much different than all the other ones. So yeah, number 4. Lilo and Stitch 2. Stitch Has a Glitch. I'm not sponsored. Okay. So, at number 3, I'm going to go with Stitch, the movie. Can I click it now? No? Okay. What if I did this? No? Okay, go back. Okay, screw it. Number 3, Stitch the movie. IMDb. Stitch movie. There it is. Oh, wait, I'm not sure if I said it. Okay, this one came out in 2003. Lilo and Stitch 2 came out in 2005. So that was 2 years after this movie. So here is the synopsis according to IMDb. Stitch, an alien living on Earth disguised as a dog with his human family, continues his adventures when he discovers that the alien family he never knew is now in Hawaii, being hunted down by galactic forces. For some reason, this one's not showing preview. That's okay. The show must go on. Here's the poster. I like this poster. I think it's cute. You got Stitch here. You got some of the other experiments. They're in a dune buggy. Lilo's there. She's hanging on. She's having a good time. Got the palm trees on the beach. This here actually speaks volumes about what the movie is about. And I like how experiment 625 is told in a sandwich. And then this little guy, the yellow one, is experiment 221, aka Sparky. So this movie gets hated on, but I like this one a lot. Obviously, there's a huge dip in animation quality because this was the first direct-to-VHS sequel, possibly DVD. But actually, it probably was DVD in that year. 2003? Yeah, that would have been on DVD too. Okay, yeah. I remember DVDs coming out in like 2000s, late 90s. But yeah, okay, so this was direct to DVD. This probably was on Disney Channel too. I think I remember watching it on there a few times. This is another one I grew up with. So there's that nostalgia that comes with it. And it's nice that the original voice cast returned. A lot of times with these Disney animated sequels, when they're direct to video, the voice cast doesn't come back. Okay, I'm just going to try something because I just noticed my screen. Hold on. Let's go back to me. And now let's go like this. Should we change that around? Maybe like this. No, like this. Maybe like this. This way. Okay, let's go here. At the stage. Here we go. Okay, that's more like it. I'm just correcting my screen. Let's go back to Stitch. So I should be in a little box in the corner off to the side now. I just realized I wasn't on the screen. Okay, awesome. Yeah, my girlfriend just confirmed it to me. Thank you, Sabrina.
You're welcome.
Okay, where was I? Okay. Stitch. Uh-oh. Stitch the movie. Okay, yeah, a lot of times with the animated sequels, the voice cast doesn't come back. So it's nice that they did. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, Stitch. This was directed by Tony Craig and Bob Scanaway. It was written by Jess Winfield and Bob Scanaway and Dean Dubois. Sorry. Stars Davy Chase. A lot of people say Davy, but it's Davy. I looked it up. Davy Chase as Lilo. Chris Sanders returns as Stitch, and Tia Carrere comes back as Nani. Again, both of us, Sabrina and I, we both looked into the budget and like how much it made in video sales, but we couldn't come up with that information. So sorry about that. So there's a few reasons why this is in the number 3rd spot, aside from the things I've already mentioned. That was mainly because the animation quality. But hey, the story introduces the under 625 experiments that Jumba created. And these are the ones that came before Stitch. Because that was something I wondered about after the first movie. If he's experiment 626, what about the other ones? And I'm glad they actually touched on that here. This is actually a great introduction. It's actually perfectly sets up the TV show. I'm not really going to talk about the TV series here. This is more about the movies, but I do recommend that too. It's fun. You could watch these movies without watching the show. You could still get a great experience from it. So it's actually kind of brilliant the way they did that. Because a lot of times when that happens, they become over-reliant on the show. And then when they start the next movie, if you're not caught up with the show, then you have no idea what's going on afterwards. You know what I mean? So I do like how it kind of acts as like an extended pilot for a TV show. And again, no spoilers, but the way that it ends, it sets up how all these creatures are now out in the world. And basically that's what the show's about. Lilo and Stitch have to go find all the other experiments and bring them back to the ship. So it kind of has this like Pokemon vibe. And you can tell just by the way these two creatures look too. The movie has kind of a Gremlins 2 vibe because some of them have special abilities, some of them have superpowers. Like this one's electric. Sparky. Sparky was actually voiced by Frank Welker, I think. Let me just check that real quick. Of course, he's a famous voice actor too. He does a lot of Disney stuff. Sanders. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Frank Welker did do Sparky. I was right. I thought so. And Raul Paulson does the voice of 625. He's probably most famous for Animaniacs. He did Yakko, and he also did Pinky from Pinky and the Brain. So let's go back to this poster. Okay, where was I? Okay, yeah, listen. It introduces Sparky. It introduces Experiment 625. He doesn't get a name in this one. I'll get to his name eventually later on. But this also introduces Dr. Jacques von Hammersville. He ends up becoming like the main antagonist for the franchise, and I think he's a great villain. The voice is really funny. The way that he's kind of set up with Jumba is really funny too. They were old college classmates, and then he ended up financing his experiments, and then they have this whole tangled, sordid relationship, and it's really funny, complicated past. So yeah, those are just some of the reasons why I think that deserves number 3 spot. This is a huge difference in quality when it comes to part 2 and then this one. Like I was really surprised the first time I saw Lilo and Stitch 2 and how disappointed I was when I first saw it compared to this one. This one's a blast. I love this movie. And it's really short too. It's only like an hour long, short and sweet. So that's why Stitch gets the number 3 spot. So at number 2, I'm actually going to leave it just the way it is. Did I fake you out? Probably not. That's okay. Leroy and Stitch. Oh, yeah, that didn't work. Okay. This came out in 2006. Oh, yeah, one more thing about Stitch. This movie's not as emotionally impactful, but the main focus for this one is fun. And I think it really accomplishes that. It's just a great little adventure. You get to meet a couple new experiments, and you get to meet an awesome villain. But let's get to Leroy and Stitch. This movie takes place in an alternate reality, and it's based off what if Stitch landed in New York City, more specifically Brooklyn. Just kidding. It's not about that at all. Where's the synopsis? New circumstances forces Lilo and her alien friends to part ways, while Cantu with Dr. Van Hammersville creates a Stitch clone, Leroy, in order to capture all the experiments and take over the galaxy. So this movie is actually a great finale to the TV show. Much how the one before it was a great pilot episode, this one has a finality to it. It makes sense why they kind of stopped making animated movies after this one, because they weren't really sure where to go after this. So this movie, there we go. Came out in 2006. This was directed by Tony Craig and Bob Scanaway. So those are the same people that directed Stitch, right? Yeah, same people came back. I think they did a lot of work on the TV show too, so it makes sense that they were part of the whole process all the way through. It's actually kind of good because there's that clear creative vision. It stars Davy Chase as Lilo, Chris Sanders returns, and then so does most of the cast. You got David Ogden Stiers, you got Tia Carrera. They all came back. I can look at more of the cast here too. Where's the cast? There we go. Yeah, they all came back. Kevin McDonald plays Pleakley. Kevin Michael Richardson plays Captain Gontu. Rob Paulson came back. Jeff Bennett, that's who plays Dr. Von Hammersville. I love the voice that he uses. It's so funny. His accent's hilarious. There he is. Dr. Von Hammersville. And then there's Leroy, the Red Stitch. So this one's interesting because of the way it's set up. It's set up so that you don't necessarily have to have seen the TV series to follow it. But if you have seen it, it's full of different references. Because usually the way that the series went was there was the Monster of the Week sort of formula. So each week Lilo and Stitch were looking for a different experiment. And this one has all the experiments that they touched on the TV show. Sometimes there's just brief little glimpses, but there's a scene at the end where it has all of them in a stadium, and you can just see the little ones here and there. You're like, oh, I remember that one, and then there's this one from this episode. It's even got Angel, the pink one. I know that's a fan favorite. Sparky came back for it. And this one, Experiment 625, gets a name. Ruben. What's your favorite Lilo and Stitch experiment? Leave comments below and we can talk about it. I've grown partial to Ruben. I think Ruben's great. He's got a great story arc in this one too. Because the last movie, he was just lazy. He sat on his butt the whole time. He just made sandwiches. And this one, he actually does stuff. And he actually helps save the day. But I sort of feel bad because this movie starts off with him and Gantu just stuck on the ship. And Gantu just takes off because it took 3 years to fix it, and he couldn't get off the ground. And then Lilo comes to talk to Ruben later. Ruben's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll do it." Like she talks him into it. He does it within like minutes. So poor Gantu, but that's part of Ruben's arc, right? Like he has to become that hero. He has to see the good in him. Okay. And this has much better animation than the other two movies. There's a huge difference in quality between this one and those other two. And personally, I think this concludes not just the show, but the whole like movie franchise perfectly. There's a good finality to it. This is kind of like the end game of the franchise. Because towards the end, without saying any spoilers, but there's a massive battle between all the experiments and then all the different Leroy clones, because that's what Hammersville does. He clones Red Stitch, Leroy. He creates hundreds of them. So it's actually pretty cool the way that this battle looks. And it actually lasts a pretty long time, too. It's not just like a brief couple minute thing. Like it's a good chunk of the third act of the movie. And also, Gantu redeems himself. Because he's not the nicest person. Well, alien. He's not a person. Not the nicest character throughout the whole thing. But this one, he's got a nice redemption arc. And he actually, it feels natural, too. It's not just forced. He sees the error of his ways, and he wants to do the right thing. Because he just keeps screwing up time and time again, and he lost his job in the first one. And I just like how they treated this character. He's not just a dumb villain who acts stupid all the time. Like, he's got a little bit of heart to him. You know, he's smart. He's a commander of a Starfleet. So, you know, you got to be qualified to do something like that. You got to be an idiot. And even Myrtle, the evil little redhead. Maybe I can find a picture. She was a bully in the first one. She has a nice little arc where she becomes nice. Okay, is there a picture of her, maybe? You can see some of the experiments, too. Oh, wait. I'm not signed in? Okay, that's weird. I thought I was signed in. I'll do that later. That's all right. You can see her there. Oh. Okay, let's go. Oh, wrong way. Back up. Up. Thank you. Thank you. More. Okay, you can kind of see her there. I don't really want to play the clip because I don't want to get copyright claimed or anything. Maybe you can see her in the trailer. It's only a minute. Here, let's just try this. Is this going to work? I played the trailer for the other one and they didn't even have to do anything. Oh, no sound. Okay. This is just an ad for IMDb. I'm not sponsored, though. Here we go. If it'll play. Here we go. Yeah. You can see the animation isn't that bad. This is how it starts off. It starts off with this little celebration. They get rewarded because it's the end of the show. They caught all the experiments. And then there's an interesting kind of a plot twist. They have to decide whether, well, everyone except for Lilo has to decide whether or not they have to go back home or stay up in space. Because they're finally allowed access to go back to the lives they had before. So it really does a good job of keeping that Ohana spirit to that family, that theme that constantly occurs in all these movies. The second one really dropped the ball when it comes to that family meaning, because just the way Jumba acts isn't really the way family would act. Yeah, there's just a little preview for it. That's cool. That's enough of that. Hopefully I don't get dinged for that. But I did play the other preview. And I played preview, little clips here and there and other live streams, and that was okay. So here we go. Oh, no, go away. I'm not sponsored. Okay. Where was I? A couple things I didn't like about this movie. This movie doesn't have Cobra Bubbles. And this movie doesn't have David. And this movie, Nani gets severely sidelined. Like, she's barely in this movie. She's only in like a minute of it. So it's more focused on the intergalactic adventure and all the experiments. There's all the experiments there. Here's that epic battle. So it's not a spoiler. I mean, it's in the preview. I'm not going to tell you how it ends, though, because you're not going to believe how that battle ends. And again, I love how they tie in Elvis in this movie. It's really clever. Each movie finds different ways to tie in different Elvis songs that have deeper meanings than what you might realize the first time you watch it. And I love how much thought was put into it. It's so cool. And of course, this movie introduces Leroy, the Red Stitch. Experiment 629. So that's why this one is in the second spot. Leroy and Stitch. Very good film. Very action-packed. It's very funny. And it's fun if you've seen the show because you get to see all the other experiments. Like I said, even Angel has a cameo. That's nice. She's got an episode. That's Stitch's love interest. Because even though they call themselves cousins, technically they're not actually related because they're just experiments made by the same person. They're not really a family, but they have that family spirit. That's what these movies are all about. This is before Fast and Furious made it popular. That theme about family. So at number one, obviously, is Lilo and Stitch from 2002. So let's bring that up, shall we? Lilo and Stitch. 2002. There it is. I love this poster. It's hilarious. Because I don't know if you were alive during that time, but the way they advertised this movie was really interesting. Because what they did is they had brief little commercials on TV or had like a clip from one of the other Disney movies. Like they had a Beauty and the Beast one. There was a Aladdin one. There's even a Little Mermaid one. She's not on this poster, Ariel. But yeah, they had certain scenes from these classic movies that came before. But all of a sudden, Stitch just shows up and he ruins the scene. Like in the Lion King one, instead of Rafiki holding Simba up on Pride Rock, he holds Stitch up. And then on the Aladdin one, he flies on his spaceship and he ruins the carpet ride that Aladdin and Jasmine were sharing for a whole new world. It's really funny. It was hilarious. So let's get to the synopsis. A young and parentless girl adopts a dog from a local pound, completely unaware that it's supposedly a dangerous scientific experiment taking refuge on Earth, and is now hiding from its creator, those who see it as a menace. And those who see it as a menace. Aha, I got there. So, here we go. Back to the poster. Okay. Here's some information about Lilo and Stitch. It was directed by Dean Dubois and Chris Sanders. It was written by Chris Sanders and Dean Dubois. It stars Davy Chase as Lilo, Chris Sanders. Yeah, Chris Sanders. I thought I said Curtis for a second. Sorry. Chris Sanders as Stitch. Tia Carrera as Nani. The budget for this one was $80 million. And part of the reason why Disney agreed to greenlight this project was because it has such a cheap budget compared to some of the other movies that they had been producing in the past. And this movie ended up grossing $273 million at the box office. So you can see how this spawned a franchise. Just by the numbers alone. Okay, where's my spot? Okay. So here's a little bit of information about Chris Sanders, because really this is his baby. He actually came up with the character of Stitch back in 1985, but he had a little bit of a different look than the one that we know now. He had to go through a few different variations. His first idea was to have him in a children's book, but that never really got off the ground. He didn't end up making the book. But after graduating from the California Institute of Arts, is when he did this. And when he pitched his book idea, he said he wanted this book to be about a little creature that landed in the forest that was from outer space, with no real explanation of where he came from. But then he would come across different woodland creatures and become friends with them. This idea, of course, would become The Wild Robot, which came out in 2024. I just want to make sure it came out last year. But yeah, Chris Sanders actually used this idea for a movie later. So it's funny how things come full circle like that. Ooh, excuse me. Okay, so in 1987, he was hired by Disney to work on the visual arts department for movies like The Rescuers Down Under. He also worked on Beauty and the Beast, and he worked on The Lion King. And he was the head storyboard artist for Mulan in 1998. So his background was actually working on these Disney animated films from the Renaissance period, as they're known to be called later on. But the whole idea was to have a non-urban location. And the first idea he had was to have it set in Kansas. Could you imagine if Lilo and Stitch didn't take place in Hawaii? It's just so weird to imagine the story taking place anywhere else. And I love the animation for this movie, because maybe I get the preview going. It might just play it. Oh, that's an interview. No, not that. Uh-oh. Let's see. This is a great example. The cool thing about this movie is you could pause it at any given point like this, and this could be a painting. I put this on my wall if it was framed. The reason it has this artistic, well, not artistic look, but the reason it has this look to it, like that painting quality, is because this was actually used with watercolor backgrounds, much like the movies back in the 40s and the 50s used to do, like Pinocchio and Dumbo and Snow White. Actually, Dumbo was a big inspiration for this movie. This was considered the modern day Dumbo, quote unquote, by a lot of people that worked at Disney at the time, because that was the idea they were going for, this outcast that found family and was accepted. Because who isn't looking for the place in the universe, right? Because a lot of movies after the 40s and the 50s started doing the gouache technique, which is basically a method of painting using opaque pigments ground in the water that are thickened like a glue-like substance, and they use that instead. So the quality of paint really does make a difference, and the type of paint that you use, you can really see the watercolors in like the trees. Beautiful. You can see it in the leaves, especially. This looks like it belongs in an art museum. Let's see if I can get some more pictures up. because visual examples are really the best. I like this one. It's the great shot. You see the clouds and the mountains in the background. You got the waves. Beautiful. So, on paper, this movie sounds like it really shouldn't work. I mean, if I told you the idea, you probably just give me a weird look and be like, okay, sure, that's a great movie. Because just think about this concept. It's all about an alien experiment designed to be an intergalactic weapon of mass destruction that crash lands on Earth in Hawaii, who gets adopted by a little girl with an Elvis obsession. When you hear that, you don't really think big blockbuster Hollywood movie, right? But somehow, because of the way it's written, the way it's animated, and the way that the characters are designed. Oh, I forgot to mention that. All of the characters in the movie are actually based off Chris Sanders' personal art style. So the animators had to go to Disney art school, quote unquote, so they could learn how to draw like him, so it would be consistent. Just because they like the look of how his concept art looked. It's a beautifully animated original concept that's sort of similar to things like E.T., or sort of similar to Gremlins, the way he gets the Mogwai and then like all the Gremlins wreak havoc and things like that. But still, the Mogwai finds a family, little Gizmo. It touches on themes of the importance of family, feeling lost in the universe, and self-discovery, being comfortable in your own skin. These are all really important lessons for kids to learn, in my opinion. Yeah, anybody really. And one innovative and unique aspect at the time, because this movie really was ahead of its time, if you think about it, was the focus on two sisters and the love between them instead of romantic love. This did that way before Frozen. Frozen gets credited for that, but this movie did it first. At the time, a central relationship between two sisters wasn't really seen in movies before. So it really helped pave the way for Frozen, not the other way around. Don't get it twisted, y'all. It's clear why this coming-of-age tale resonated with so many people, too, just because the way it sets up this massive franchise to be. Like, the other experiments aren't referenced or anything at all, but right off the bat, he's referenced as Experiment 626. So there's that little hint that there's more coming. And fun fact, this movie lost Best Animated Feature in the following year, so 2003, to the movie Spirited Away, which of course is from Studio Ghibli. But that also stars Davy Chase. She plays the little girl in that one too. So I thought that was interesting. And this weekend was the opening weekend, of course, for the live action remake. And it goes up against Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. But it's not the first time that Stitch went up against Tom Cruise. Because when this movie came out on June 21st, it was actually opening weekend for a Minority Report. So this is the second time that Stitch and Tom Cruise have faced off at the box office. I just thought that was funny. So this movie actually introduces a lot of things that helped launch the franchise. It introduces Stitch. It introduces Dr. Jumba Jukuba. I got there. It introduces Agent Pleakley, Captain Gantu. It introduces the Federation Grand Councilwoman. And of course, it introduces Nadia and Lilo. Their last name is Pelike. You only see it on like envelopes and like bills. Like they don't actually say the name. That's something you have to look for. It introduces Cobra Bubbles. This is the great character. This guy looks like he's straight out of the Men in Black. Hold on. Let's see if I can get a picture of Cobra Bubbles. Very range of the voice of him, and he voices the character perfectly. So let's see photos. close that one. Oh, go back. What happened? Okay. That's not the one. Oh, no. Okay, looks like I gotta do one at a time. But even here, you can see the art style. Oh, there he is. I found him. There's a couple of bubbles. There's an interesting twist with his character too, but again, no spoilers. I don't want to ruin anything. He's the social worker. He's the one making sure. Even the plot for this one's really interesting. That's on Earth. It's all about how Nani and Lilo lost their parents, but it doesn't even go too much into that too, like other Disney movies do. It's very different the way it handles the dead parent aspect. Like most Disney movies, it would open with like the car accident, like it shows them in the car together, and then is the rain, and then all of a sudden they go off the road or whatever, and then it cuts to the next scene. This one doesn't have a parent death scene or anything like that. Kind of like how Bambi has the parent death scene, or like Finding Nemo had that scene in the beginning of the movie. No, it completely skips over that. It's much more subtle when it comes to the parents' deaths. They don't talk about it a whole lot, but the clues are there if you look for it. Let's go back to the poster. Now that I was able to show you a couple bubbles. Yeah, and even the slogan. There's one in every family. There's always the black sheep in every family. And I always identified as the black sheep in my family. So that's one way I found Stitch to be very relatable. This movie also introduces David, the boyfriend of Nani. But in this one, the relationship is just kind of starting off. They don't really get together until the next one. They have this weird subplot in Stitch. No. It's the second one. About Pleakley trying to make Nani jealous. But yeah, it's just weird. I don't know what they were thinking with that. But hey. And this movie also introduces the Ice Cream Man. The Ice Cream Man is like a running gag. He appears in all the movies. He appears in the show. Every time he sees them, he loses the ice cream cone. And I feel so bad for this guy. Can I get a picture of Ice Cream Man? Uh-oh. Go away. Okay. Maybe I can get Ice Cream Man. I don't want to cycle through all these photos. Oh yeah, that's another thing too I thought was really interesting. A lot of times this movie will have like pictures of people like Elvis here, but he's not animated. You notice that? They also have clips from old movies, but they're not animated. They're all black and white movies. So it's just interesting how they include that. They could have animated those sections, but they didn't. Probably to keep costs down. It's not going to show me the Ice Cream Man, is it? No, there's Chris Sanders. The voice of Stitch. Okay. Ice Cream Man. Lilo and Stitch. Yeah, there he is. Okay, well, this is not here for me. Okay. Let's try this one. If it loads. No? Okay. Well, there he is there. You can see the Ice Cream Man. There's different versions. He's basically this guy. He doesn't talk or anything. He just walks around with his tan lines. I'm just curious, how does he have those tan lines if he's never wearing a shirt? Where do those tan lines come from? The best though is when he's on the beach and a ship flies by, a starship, and the wing just kind of turns a little bit, and it just misses him, and it knocks the tip off of his ice cream. Poor guy, he just can't have his ice cream. All right, let's go back. Oh, did I lose it? Oh, okay, here, IMDb. Lilo and Stitch. There we go. Back to the poster. Okay, good. And the thing I love most about this movie is really how ahead of its time it is. I can't overemphasize that. It's got this classic theme of just trying to find your place and trying to be a part of something bigger than yourself. Because who hasn't felt lonely and lost in this grand universe? And the story, even though it does have a lot of similarities to E.T., it is very original at the time. Because if you think about it, before this, most of the Disney animated movies, they were based off fairy tales or mythology or some sort of other source that was adapted into something else. This was a new concept that didn't have any like precursors to it or anything like that, with new characters and a whole different art style. So just the look, the feel, the writing, everything was just so different at the time. I think that's part of the reason why this won so many people over. You can even tell here the way these characters are drawn and the way these characters are drawn. Stitch has a lot more rounded corners. It's not as angular as some of these other ones are. All the characters are like that. There's softer edges. Even his teeth. They're much softer in appearance. I noticed myself when I love drawing Stitch. I think it's really fun drawing him. So yeah, those are just a few reasons why I love the original Lilo and Stitch. Why it's number one. You're wrong. All these movies are great. I don't think there's a bad movie in this franchise. So back to the list. Number 4, we have Lilo and Stitch 2, Stitch Has a Glitch. Number 3, we have Stitch the Movie. Number 3, we have Stitch the Movie. Number 2, we have Leroy and Stitch. And number 1, Lilo and Stitch. So let's just save this. And now this list will be available on Letterboxd if you're interested in looking at it later. And eventually I'll come in and I'll do official reviews, like I'll write them out and everything. Make it all nice and pretty. So I think that's saved. Let's go back to me. Okay, so this concludes tonight's episode. I did my little recap already. Once again, at number 4, I have Lilo and Stitch 2. Number 3 was Stitch the Movie. Number 2 was Leroy and Stitch. And number 1, Lilo and Stitch. I love these movies. There's not really a bad one in the bunch. Whilst the second one does kind of annoy me, I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. It's just nothing interesting. It's kind of dull. But the other ones are good. They're all good. Like, there isn't a bad movie in this bunch. I wouldn't give any of these a small popcorn or anything. But yeah, that's my show. That's my opinion about the Lilo and Stitch movies. I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Next week, I don't think I'm going to do an episode because it's Niagara Falls Comic-Con, so it's going to be very busy for me, but I'll probably do something the week after to kind of talk about that. Let me just check the comments to see if anyone's saying anything. Okay, no comments. That's okay. I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Once again, I'm Mr. FlIXTER. Do you like my shirt? I also have this hat. I don't know if you can see it. I got this hat a long time ago in Disneyland. I'm not sure if it's my brother's hat or if it was mine, but it still fits me. I want to get all dressed up for the episode tonight. So, until next time, aloha, and I will see you in about 2 weeks.
June 7th will be our next date.
June 7th will be my next live stream. So let's roll the outro. Oh.
I'll see you at the movies.
Hold on. Stop. Start again. Okay. Full screen. Okay. Let's try that again. So, until next time.
I'll see you at the movies.
Have a great day. Did you know that I'm a film critic for HorrorBuzz.com? You can read my reviews on their website, and I make frequent appearances on their YouTube channel, HorrorBuzz Live. So I'll leave links below for that too. So what's your favorite Lilo and Stitch movie? Leave comments below and we can talk about it. And what's your favorite experiment? Well, let me know what you think about that too. Have a good night. See you in 2 weeks.